Remove your covers, and we'll let Harry do his thing from back in the back of the room.
Please remove your hats if wearing one. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. Don't sit yet. Now we have to pledge to the ARRL. Happy April Fool's Day. We'll start with some committee reports. The repeater technical side of the house.
No meetings in the House and no official reports.
I'm sorry?
No meetings in the House and no official reports.
Okay. We have a series of announcements. We have a busy time tonight, so I'll try to move this fairly quickly. We have several events that have been in the planning stage from other clubs in the area, and we're going to talk a little bit about every one of them. John, K6CPO, is going to make some comments about SOBARs and the things that they have planned.
Okay, well, my name is John Wright. My call sign is K6CPO, and I'm the president of the South Bay Amateur Radio Society down in Chula Vista. And actually, more why I'm up here is because I've just been recently appointed as the public information coordinator for the San Diego section, covering both San Diego and Imperial counties. And what section leadership wants to do is we want to expand our public information presence throughout Southern California. So to that end, we're looking for anyone that might be interested in becoming a public information officer, whether it be for your club or just at large. We're looking for people that might have public relations experience, journalism experience, or just a desire to promote ham radio. So if there's anyone that has an interest, I'll be here for the duration of the meeting because we're interested in the presentation. So if anyone has an interest or wants more information, just please see me at the end of the meeting. Thank you, Charlie.
Sure. Any questions from anybody on that? And we have a comment to make about the operating day that we're planning at Fry's. Tom?
May 2nd, Saturday, operating day, both Fry stores, San Diego, San Marcos, 9 o'clock to 5. Please come out and join us. And anybody that can do any like tea honey, if we get the public involved, would be great. Hopefully we'll have at least a half a dozen clubs there. American Red Cross, CERT, and Skywarn, and some of the other groups. Hope to see you there.
It goes without saying that one of the things that our operating day gives you is an opportunity to get on the air. Unless you're fortunate enough to live in Poway, which has now directed the city to make the HOAs abide, many people can't operate because they don't have antennas. Oh, happy April Fool's Day. Some of you may have misread the article in Scope, or you didn't read the entire article. I won't tell you how many people have called me about that.
Your ears are burning.
Sorry?
Your ears must be burning.
No, there were some people who were pretty embarrassed at having bid that one hook, line, and sinker. Field Day. Our Field Day chair and Dennis have some comments to make.
Okay, well, first of all, I'd say mark your calendars. Field Day is June 26th, 27th, and 28th. We are working on getting a site. We have a couple of locations in mind. One of them would be located potentially in Oceanside near PFB, which would be larger than the site we've had in the past couple of years. In addition, we'd be able to line the antennas up so that they're all facing parallel towards a northeastern direction. So that would be kind of nice. The other sites we're looking at are located in San Marcos also give us good visibility. Field day, June 26th, 27th, and 28th. So mark your calendar. Starting next week, Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, the field day planning net will start. Again, next week, starting on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock, we will host the field day planning net. It will last approximately an hour or as long as needed. And it'll run through field day every Wednesday except, of course, for the club meetings. With that, I would like to take a poll. Remain standing if you are interested in volunteering for one of the CW station captains. Whoa, I see Charlie. That was not it.
No, I always do the 20-meter CW station. So.
All right, field day site, as I said, we have the possibility of a nice, very big, visible site by DMV and Oceanside. Little concerned because the answer I got today was not the choice I had because they have an offer of somebody paying them money to use that site. And we do not. But there still is the potential that we can coexist at least for 3 days. So we're going to get back with more conversation with the property management, property owner over there, and hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll have something resolved one way or another, at least knowing if that site's going to be available. And in the meantime, we're still dancing, and if Dennis is here, where's your Gotch site shirt? It's not here? Okay. So we're back on the Sure. Preference is up to 1,000 feet. No, we bring power. We're looking for a relatively level place. You got to remember over in San Marcos, we had a 10-degree tilt. Not what I like. Nope. Dirt preferred. If we have any construction sites or anything like that, those are also open for availability. Large parking lots are great, except they have these things called lights in the middle.
Well, the problem with the paved site is we have to drive some stakes into the ground, and the paved site doesn't. But if anybody else knows of a potential site, as Dennis mentioned, close to level is preferred to 45-degree incline. It's hard to get a tower on a 45-degree incline. All we need is permission to use the site, about 1,000-foot diameter, so that we can spread the towers around. That's all we need. Field day is an exercise in how we would conduct emergency services. The earthquake has knocked out power, internet, food, beer. No, just kidding. So we show up and do our thing. And if you know of a site that might be available, please tell us. The other request I have, how many of you use a repeater here in San Diego? Then I would like you to make yourself a promise that on the repeater, you're going to get on the repeater, and you're going to mention field day. There are lots of novices out there who haven't a clue what field day means. First field day I went to, I was a novice. And boy, did I get hooked into ham radio when I made high-frequency contacts. So, talk about field day, and maybe somebody will come up and say, I don't know what that is, and explain it to them. There's value in that. We have some comments to be made by our treasurer. Where's Richard? We'd like to discuss for a minute the meaning of the treasurer report you saw in scope this month.
some of you probably, can you hear me? Some of you have probably seen in the scope how it's showing where all the income is coming in. We were going to break it down to where it shows where some people are actually like RF parts, they pay a yearly fee where it shows the dues are more than what is actually coming in every month. I don't know if that was explained to you last month. So a lot of the money that you see that shows so much, like for this month, it shows we had total income was $1,075. But we had a lot of that was like $300 that paid for RF parts, HRO. They pay yearly in advance for using the Scope magazine. Equipment expenses, we had a lot of equipment expenses for the repeater system that we're going to be putting in. I'm not sure what else. The balance for this month right now is $2,610.
And we have a lot to spend here shortly to install these repeaters. So the purpose of putting that report into the scope is principally, hopefully you will see that it costs money to keep a club operating, especially when you have as large an infrastructure as we have up on Palomar Mountain. But it is your money. We don't print money, we can't raise taxes in the city of San Diego, etc., etc. So that's an effort to tell you how we're using your money.
I quantified that was the money that's been checking, correct? Not
Yes,
totally.
right. Yeah, that's our day-to-day operating fund. Beyond that, we'd spend a lot of time explaining a lot of stuff that is in place, but we don't want to do that right now. Well, yeah, one-on-one, we'll be happy to talk with you about it. We could have a program on it if you wanted a program on financial accounting. I don't think it would be very meaningful, but that is very enjoyable, but we could do that if we have to. Joe has an announcement to make about the Ears Club.
Thank you, Charlie. Escondido Amateur Radio Society is having their annual auction. We normally have it on a Thursday night, which is our regular club meeting, but now we're going to try it on a Saturday morning. Starts at 8 for sellers, 8:30 for buyers, and the actual auction starts at 9. AK6R is going to be our auctioneer. It is...
Joe, let me bring you the microphone. We can't hear you up here.
Okay.
You might as well start over.
Okay, the Escondido Amateur Radio Club auction is going to be on Saturday, April the 11th, instead of our regular club meeting night, which is a Thursday night. 8 a.m. check-in for sellers, buyers 8:30, and the actual auction begins at 9. It will be at the United Methodist Church in Escondido at the Social Hall, 341 South Calmia. And that is, I think it's 4 streets south of Grand and about 5 streets east of Center City Parkway. Let's see. Sellers, it'll be $2 for the first tag, $1 for each additional tag. Buyers are free. It's amateur radio related items. Payment can be made in cash, check, PayPal, or credit card. Any questions? What did I not mention?
Is any information going to be on the website?
Yes, it already is. Is website, no. PARC. Okay. Earsclub.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. If you're looking for the ham radio piece that you can't live without, go to an auction. There's a lot of good stuff there. I presume that everybody knows that we're conducting a drawing for this $3 a ticket. If you don't have your ticket yet, right here. It is a $300 radio, so for $3, you might strike it big. I'm sorry? Oh, and we're gonna, yeah, the drawing will happen after the presentation tonight. Yeah, has all the San Diego County open repeaters programmed into it, and it is the new FT1DR, which is the digital handy-talkie that goes and matches this thing right here. This is one of the new repeaters. We have 5 of them. It's available to take a look at it. It has a nice plexiglass top. I've been watching it, and we're very successful that none of the red electrons have gotten on the black wire, so must be doing okay. We have 5 of these, and their installation just is awaiting scheduling it, resourcing the installations, and making sure that we know all the technical things that go with this installation. Goodie table. John?
I came in a little late today, so I'm not sure. AK6R here has some interesting bit of older gear, but he's also got some antenna tuners. You have to understand, though, that back in the 60s, the RF was completely different, and none of the antenna tuners from the 60s and the transmitters work on different frequency bands and everything else, so none of that stuff will work anymore. So, April Fool. There's a bunch of stuff here that says club donations. We have the Breaker Corporation here. Can't imagine where that came from or what was originally intended for its use. But there's some low-pass filters, some microphones, some other goodies here. So be generous and take them away. I'm sure AK6R doesn't want to take them home with them. And last but not least, I see a rotator control box. This is one of the old-fashioned 4-wire clunk-clunk type rotator control boxes. I have some clunk-clunk type rotators at home, but I'm not sure about their current operating condition. But anyway, come take it away, make them new homes, and give the club lots of money.
This is a Viking Ranger, very nice rig, and our technical chair, Conrad, has modified it so it's compatible with all versions of Windows. Let's see, our repeater site chair, Dennis, he's in charge of infrastructure, if you take it that way. Conrad, our technical chair for the things that happen at the repeater. You guys can't stand up so folks see you. Jim, NE60, one of the directors on the board. Greg, amongst other things, our field day chair. Richard, our treasurer, who you just saw a moment ago. Gary, W6GDK, back over there waving. Joe, K6JPE, our vice president. And you know me, so. How many visitors do we have tonight? Wow. We're growing by leaps and bounds. I'd like to go through and give each one of you an occasion to stand up, identify yourself, tell us your call sign. I'll start over on the left over here. I saw one hand up. I thought I saw a hand up.
Maybe you're pointing at me. Name's Kurt, call is Kilo Echo 6, Kilo Norway, Papa.
Where do you live?
San Marcos.
San Marcos, okay. Down on this side, somebody is pointing to a YL in the back.
KG6, YWY, and Bertie Walker, and Carlsbad.
Thank you. More hands, I don't remember where they all were. I see one over there. And you live where? Bonita, okay. Anybody else?
Matt, N6EHA from Escondido.
Anybody else?
WB6RDHA.
Carlsbad, okay. Who else?
Fred, KI6GRO, Chula Vista.
Anybody else?
Dave, an AKBC Assistant Section Manager for the AORL.
Thank you, Dave.
John, KP6NLW, Vista.
Bree, KK6NLB from Vista.
Did we get everybody? Oh,
Person off from the KK6LB, Carmel Mountain.
Carmel Mountain. Anyone else? Well, we certainly want to thank you for attending tonight. It's going to be an interesting program, and hopefully you'll find the things that we do here of interest in general, and we'll get to see you again at one of our meetings, which happen every month on the first Wednesday of the month. Kevin, do you want to make a...
Yes, real quick.
Kevin has an announcement.
All right, KK6FRK here. I want to thank all of you for your ongoing support of the Boy Scouts, Boy Scout radio programs. PARC will be supporting the Boy Scout Fair on Saturday, April 18th at Qualcomm. So Conrad and the usual suspects will be there. We're going to be videotaping Conrad so that we can do a YouTube video of how to set up the PARC trip. Because only he knows right now. Okay, if you want to be one of the editors, be there. So also, if anybody wants to go and see what Boy Scouts do in 2015, you're welcome to make it by the Scout Fair again at Qualcomm on April 18th. You can see me afterwards because I have Scout Fair tickets. Lastly, I want to thank all of those who pledged and donated to our Boy Scout Scholarship Fund. For those visitors or those that were not here last meeting, what we have is a Boy Scout Scholarship Fund that funds a scout to get his FCC technician license. We do the exam cram, and we pay for his $5 license exam fee, and we give them an HT, like what Dennis is holding up. But they have to earn it. So we had 12 PARC members sponsor scholarships last meeting. So we're going to be doing the radio merit badge, and then we've been working with Jay Goldberg to do a class exam cram just for scouts and scout leaders. So stay tuned on that. And one more thing, the Boy Scout Council is very appreciative of what we're doing. Sometime in the near future, either at Field Day or something that may come to one of our meetings, they want to give us some kind of momentum of appreciation to acknowledge PARC support for Boy Scouts in San Diego County. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that Kevin last week passed his general exam. That was
Oh,
great.
outstanding. Congratulations. I can't, you heard me go on a rant before. I can't overemphasize what I think is key to keep amateur radio alive. If we don't start to attract a large volume of young people to the hobby, 40 years from now, the ARRL will publish a list of all the silent keys, but there will be no people to read the list. This is a great opportunity to get involved with some folks to attract them to science and technology. I got involved with them at Field Day the year before last, and it was fascinating to see, talking with a young person, meaning 10, 12 years old, and see their eyes light up when they suddenly realize how this works, and hopefully will continue to do so. I've managed to see 2 of them get up to their general class license. That's how you attract new blood. It's called Elmering, for those who may remember what that term means. Anybody have any questions? Conrad?
I got it now.
What?
I got it now.
Oh, so you want to make an announcement?
Okay, so for those who don't know, there's a lot of these ultra runner events that go on in the mountains. We're starting up this year's routine. They already had one out in Shelter Valley a couple weeks ago. I've got another one coming up here April 25th. It's a Saturday. It'll be the weekend after the Scout Fair. Looking for some operators to come out there, give us a hand. For those who don't know, we go ahead and set up on stations, a lot like field deployments, like you'd have in a real disaster, so it's a good chance to test your station setup, make sure it works. And have a good time, see some of the backcountry. So we're looking for ops to go out there. We provide communications where there is no cell coverage in these lovely mountains we have. So we're looking for ops that can be reached at KG6JAI@AMSAT for April 25th. And we're gonna have a few more coming out here in the rest of the year as well. So if you want to reach out to me, we'll reach on the list for those too.
To operate digitally, meaning your signal is 1s and 0s when you talk. But if you're stuck with one of those old analog handy-talkies, the machine takes care of translating in real time, so you would never know that the other station is using an analog system. I can guarantee you there is D-Star sort of associated, but not a digital transmission. And I have no doubt that sometime in the next 10 years, there will be no analog radios being manufactured. They're all going to be a variant of this. Furthermore, for the opportunity to come down and talk to us about the new fusion system, Yaesu has decided that if you come up and sign this sheet here, every ham who attends this meeting tonight will be given one of these by Yaesu. Happy April Fool's Day. Chris, be my guest.
Hello everyone, my name is Chris Wilson, N0CSW. I'm the National Sales Manager for Yaesu, U.S.A. I've been a ham radio operator for about 12 years. I owned an engineering firm in Joplin, Missouri. And Yaesu hired me about a year ago to come work out here in Cypress, California, Orange County. If you call us LA people, we get kind of angry. But I am a little further west. But anyways, Yaesu brought me out here to represent the digital radio line of technology that they're currently releasing to the market. And we're going at it headstrong. We've more than hit the ground running with the DR1X installation program. We have several thousand repeaters now in the United States. I can't give an exact number, but we have several thousand in the United States. We far exceeded the number of repeaters that D-Star, DMR, and some of the other networks have out there. But one thing that we're doing is we're providing really good, really clean digital technology to the amateur community that's designed just for amateur radio. What I'm going to do is, these are two of our radios, a silver and a black FT1 DR. There's one up here that's being raffled off. Can I get everybody to raise their hand that bought a ticket tonight? Okay, almost everybody bought tickets. Well, Yaesu is going to do one thing. If we can get another 30 tickets sold, we will donate an FT1 DR radio to the club. We'll give away in the raffle tonight. So if you want to come up and buy another ticket, feel free to do that, and that'll double your chances of actually winning. So there you go. Okay, so we're going to try to get a few more in for the club and help some people out. So I'm going to pass these radios around so everybody can take a look at them and you can see kind of what you're getting into. I'll start one at the back here. These are both on simplex, so feel free to talk to each other as they go around the room. You can check out the digital quality of C4FM. There you go, man. You can start pressing that around. Now, C4FM is a really, really interesting technology. It's developed for the commercial world. I lost the microphone, I think. So I get it, testing. I think so. The battery light's on. I might have to start
Test battery again.
Okay, I only use what they allow me to have.
It's
Doing a field repair, and
Okay, this is a 0, this is a 1, 2 1s.
Test 1, 2.
Okay, and we're back. It's not a Heil microphone, so it okay, so as I was mentioning, Yaesu is really hitting the ground, running with the digital technology. We are trying to appeal to the youth out there, and I'm glad that Charlie mentioned something about that, because Yaesu's taken a stance on providing more education to the youth. Actually, just last week in Chicago, we visited Lakeview Technology in Wisconsin, in Madison, Wisconsin, and we actually went to the school and donated some amateur radio equipment. Very fascinating school. It's an immersion technology for engineering and manufacturing, and they started an amateur radio club. And Yaesu took some interest after we saw some postings online, not of them asking for donations as much as a story of them getting shot down trying to get some grants. So we came in, and we've really been trying to do some outreach into the radio community like we are here tonight. We're trying to do some outreach into the schools because honestly, just like Charlie said, I'm not going to have a job selling radios if we don't get the youth involved. There's just not as much support as we've seen in the past few years in amateur radio. But now we have a really good opportunity to get the youth involved in amateur radio through computerized technology, through digital radio technology, and just some of this new stuff that we have hitting the market that's integrating computers and radios. We're seeing a lot of SDR. A lot of Yaesu's radios are moving more towards a software-defined platform, as we're seeing in the FTM 400s, FT1 DRs, 2 DRs, and some of our other radios. They're more computerized. We're starting to see more microprocessors inside of these radios, and we can do just so much more with them. We can transfer images, we can transfer data, we can text message, we can make repeaters, take an analog signal and convert it to digital, or a digital signal and convert it to analog. If you can hit my next slide there. Go ahead and hit it once more. As I mentioned, we hit the ground running. The first 2 radios we came out with were the FT1 DR and the FTM 400. Both are computerized radios. They are firmware upgradable. That means if we come out with a change, we come out with a bug fix, you can upload it right to the radio. If we add features to the radio, you can just upgrade the firmware and keep going and get those extra features without having to pay any more money. The next release in the line that we had after the 400 was the DR1X, which is infrastructure. We put the radios out there and everybody could talk to each other. We said, okay, that's not going to cut it. We have to have a digital repeater. There are some neat features I'm going to talk about in the digital repeater currently, which is the automatic mode select system, which is also in the client radios. So in this presentation, these are really things that are interesting to me as an amateur radio operator. This isn't really a Yaesu company presentation. This is one I created myself. And I put some of the, well, there's a lot of copy and pasting from our website in there, but I put in the features that really got me interested in Fusion when I was back in Missouri before I came out to California, before I even decided to start to work for Yaesu. I started off as a beta tester for Yaesu. That's how they found out about me. We were providing reports to Yaesu. I used my company and I used my employees to actually test the equipment and provide some really high-end, really detailed reports back to Yaesu. So they decided to bring me in. But here's my presentation on what I like about System Fusion. Next slide, please. We did go with C4FM, FDMA technology. Am I hitting that? Okay, wonderful. I always do that when these are on the ground like that. C4FM, FDMA is a little bit more along the lines of P25. Has anybody here had experience with P25 in the local area? Just raise your hand. We've had a lot of people with P25. What about DMR? Anybody with DMR? Okay, quite a few, probably twice as many people here working with DMR. C4FM is a little different. It is only one time slot. We don't have two time slots on it, so there cannot be two simultaneous conversations going on. But one thing that we can do is transmit data and transmit voice simultaneously. So as we're sending that data stream out, we can transmit images and text messages along with the voice, which is just a really neat feature, especially if we're trying to do stuff like telemetry. We don't want to have to wait after we key a radio for telemetry data to be sent, or while we key the radio, we don't want to have to wait to talk while data is being sent, and we're waiting to move on to the next node. There's a lot of things that we can do simultaneously. Now the system can convert analog to digital and digital to analog. We cannot do simultaneous analog or digital, which is a common misconception about the repeater. And it is dual band, but we can't do both bands at the same time. We can cross band on the system, however. Digital for amateur radio. A few of the reasons that we decided to go with C4FM is a very high recovery and resync rate in the technology, meaning that if you listen to D-Star sometimes, you get a little bit of artifacting. D-Star, some of the other technologies that are developed specifically for the commercial world, we hear the signals break up and sometimes those signals don't recover as fast. We found with C4FM, the bit error rate was a little bit lower as far as having some QRM in between the signal, and it recovered a lot faster, and it was just a lot more robust of a protocol. We could do some stuff with it like digital data transmission simultaneously that was really appealing to the amateur community. So when we started asking questions to everybody out there, we found C4FM was the obvious choice to go with. If you could hit the next button, please. This is an FCC approved technology. That means that it is designed for amateur radio use and it has been approved by the FCC for amateur radio use. There's nothing you have to do to these radios to make them legal on the air. There's nothing you have to do to legally identify yourself in the digital mode using native settings inside the radio. That means that we're not using any type of soft IDs, which require separate licensing in order to transmit our call sign. We're not using any type of numbering system that has to be decoded online. Nothing has been conformed in this system, nothing has been put into the system to conform to amateur radio. It is fully designed to integrate with amateur radio, and it's designed by amateurs in Japan, with influence here from the United States in our DR1X, or actually our DR1 beta program. Next slide, please. Fusion of FM. The reason we call the system Fusion is because of automatic mode select. AMS is at the heart of the system. AMS automatically detects what type of signals coming into the repeater or into the radio. The radios themselves, and I don't have my demo on here because it's going around, the radios themselves have the ability to switch in between FM and switch in between analog. That means if you're having simplex communications, And let's say we're talking digital. Two stations are talking, we have two outside antennas, we're making a 25-mile contact on a calling frequency and someone wants to break in. If we have automatic mode select enabled on our radios and that station breaks in, both of the radios that can hear that analog signal are automatically going to switch over to FM. Now, depending on what AMS mode you're in, you can set your radio to either revert back to digital, or you can have it stay on analog, and the next time you key down your radio, it comes back in analog until it hears another digital signal. So there's a few benefits to running Fusion that are a little bit different than commercial radio. If we look at the DMR and P25 portables, when they switch over from analog to digital, if we have a hybrid option enabled on the channel that we're on, it's going to switch back to whatever the channel is programmed to. Meaning is if you're on digital and here's an analog transmission, it's going to switch back to digital. Next time you key down, you're going to get digital. So there's a few things that are different about System Fusion that make it a little bit more comfortable in the amateur radio world as far as people actually adopting the technology. So what I've seen a lot of in amateur radio clubs are people that just don't want to go digital. And especially with technologies that are digital only, when we start linking DMR or look at D-Star, we have no analog options. So that's the power of System Fusion, is the fact that if we have these people in the club that just don't want to go digital, they don't want to buy a new radio, they don't have to. We can turn automatic mode select on the repeater. We can have the digital guys come out, analog FM. Everybody can keep talking. Nobody's even going to know anybody has a digital radio on the network, except it's going to be crystal clear. You'll never hear any QRM when that digital radio is talking into that repeater. Now, you might hear some artifacting if you get right out on the edge, but I can guarantee you in almost 100% of the situations, if you have a little bit of artifacting going on, that's that R2-D2 sound you kind of hear sometimes in your digital transmissions or on your cell phones. By the time that you're hearing that analog signal is going to be unintelligible. You probably are not going to be able to understand anything that person's saying in analog. So there are a few benefits right off the bat that are just really, really great about digital. And it's one of the reasons that we chose C4FM as our technology, and that's when we get back into the bit error rate characteristics. Once most of these radios hit about a 20% error rate, they start falling off. We found about a 15% error rate in D-Star, between 15 and 20 in DMR. Our radios exhibit drop-offs at around the 20 to 25% bit error rate, and that's in the digital narrow mode. And if we go to the next one. I'll talk a little bit more about some bit error rate characteristics. We're going to get into some modes later on, so we'll talk about that. A little bit more about automatic mode select. It is FM-friendly digital. And we've found, you know, that coming into clubs, we found a lot less people getting uncomfortable adapting to this technology because they can still continue to use their own radios. Now, one of the great things about this is, and I know me as a ham, is you get to buy a new radio. I know a lot of people don't want to do that, but it's these radios are really neat. And one of the things that we decided to do when we put all the AMS stuff in here, we said we have a digital radio that's analog capable, is we went ahead and threw all the analog features that you find in the VX8 and the VX7 and some of our other radios into the FT1DR, which includes APRS, full narrowband and wideband FM technology, tone encode, decode, anything that you're going to find in any of our other radios, including enhanced paging encoded squelch system, is built into this radio. So just because we put digital into it doesn't mean that we cut off any of the analog side. You have an integrated GPS in all of our System Fusion radios. They all have APRS in them, including the FT2DR, which we're getting ready to release here soon. C4FM, I'm going to get more into some of the modes that we're operating. Of course, bit error rate characteristics is the main reason that we chose C4FM. But we also have the highest audio quality on the market right now as far as digital radio goes. And how did we do this? Well, since we do have a wideband repeater, we have a little bit more bandwidth to work with, we came out with what's called voice wide mode. And that's where we took the full 20 kilohertz of bandwidth that we have available. We're pushing as much data as we can through it to provide a high quality, high fidelity digital audio signal. It is absolutely superb, and I just recommend that everybody grabs the demo radios I sent around at any point, key them down, talk to somebody, listen to the quality of the voice. It is absolutely outstanding. The first mode is our VD mode, or voice and data mode, also known as digital narrow. It allows us to transmit data at the same time as voice. Now, if we're not transmitting data, it does use the other slot for forward error correction. So we get a little bit more distance out of the system. We have a little bit more error correction in the signal that decreases that bit error rate when we start having a really broken up signal with a lot of QRM and maybe some intermod in it. So we'll get a little bit more distance out of the digital narrow mode. Now, if you know you're within communications range, we have the voice FR or full rate mode. Voice full rate mode is going to use the entire bandwidth just for voice. Nothing else. No data, no text messaging, no telemetry. The only thing that's going to come over is voice, and it's going to be much, much higher quality. We have a data full rate mode. The data full rate mode is high-speed data transmission. It's twice as fast as the digital narrow mode. It's used for stuff such as text messaging and image transmission when there's no voice actually present on the radio at that time. And of course, we have standard analog FM modes, which are going to support repeater access, offsets, PL, DCS, all the standard features, including APRS. I can't stress that enough. All of these radios have a very, very nice APRS system built right into them. There are a few features that we added that changed the game up a little bit. Now, C4FM and FDMA that's been used in P25, we're not doing. And I know a lot of people weren't happy that we came out with another technology when P25, DMR, D-Star, NextEdge, IDAS, all these technologies are out there. What I tell everybody, it's one more to add to the bucket. It's not a bad thing because we're developing this stuff right now. We're trying to figure out what amateur radio wants. Yaesu's taken a really good stance on this though, and we've actually provided all of our engineering information to the general public. You can get right on the website and pull down all the information you need to build your own fusion hardware, your own fusion radio, to decode and demodulate our signals or modulate your own. So we have all that stuff that's out there. It's a little bit vague, and the reason is it's a supplement to what we have. We expect people to actually prime themselves on P25, know what's happening so they can compare and contrast our documents when they're engineering their own hardware. So we made it easy, but we didn't make it too easy. We want people that are actually capable of developing hardware doing so. So Yaesu's really, really trying to help in that aspect. One of the reasons that we went to, go back to that slide real quick, probably back twice, it's made an animation, one more forward. Okay. One of the reasons that we had to change up the protocol slightly is we put stuff in there like digital group mode, image transmission, and text messaging. When we started doing this stuff and it was amateur specific, we started handling call signs. We started putting call signs in these packet headers. We had to change things up and they weren't going to be compatible with any type of P25 radio because we had to make an amateur technology. We weren't going to release another commercial technology onto the market. Some of the stuff we put into the radios like digital group monitor are really, really impressive features if you're working with emergency communications. One of the things it enables us to do is monitor RSSI to and from a repeater site or to and from individual simplex radios. If you have a net control station that's running an operation, let's say in search and rescue, and you have a group of people that are using a repeater and you need to monitor when they're going to be in or out of communications range, this is an invaluable tool. The digital group monitor function also allows us to store telemetry and sync group text messaging. That means that you can actually save and store coordinates and track down those coordinates from your net control station or individual client radio. If another station starts yelling bloody murder, they need help, they're out there, help me, their radio dies mid-transmission, we're saved. System Fusion is actively transmitting in digital narrow mode their telemetry information as they're transmitting. That means if that radio dies and loses a battery right mid-transmission, we can store their location and we can backtrack right to where they're at. And I think that myself, and just coming out of Joplin, Missouri, where we had a massive tornado, I think that's invaluable. But if we have somebody that we need to locate, we can locate them, store their information, pull up the compass on our radio, and go right to that member of the group. So a few things that we changed up. And if we go to the next slide, one of the ones that I like, it's not the most impressive feature, but it is a heck of a lot better than slow scan TV, is digital image transmission. We have a VGA image that can be sent. It can be transmitted to an FTM 400 displayed on the screen, or it can be transferred and stored to an FT1DR or FT2DR portable radio for retrieval later on your PC. So another thing that we changed up a little bit, we had to put that stuff into our System Fusion system, and it changed the protocol and signaling technologies just slightly. The smart navigation function, which I just talked about a minute ago, we can store someone else's location and track ourselves right to it. Great for search and rescue. We can do this on simplex as well as in the digital group monitor function. If the operator, the transmitting operator, actually has their GPS enabled, when they're in digital narrow mode, we'll get that telemetry data sent over automatically when they key down. You'll see the distance you are away from the station that you're talking to, and you'll see their heading as well, so we know which direction they are. If you're sitting down talking and you have some beams up there and you need to actually point your beams to the location of the other station, it's going to give you a direct heading of that other station, how far they are away from you. We can save those locations into memory slots, and as I mentioned before, we can track ourselves right to them. Next. The backtrack function is interesting for those of us that go camping, hiking, fishing, or are working search and rescue. When you get to the command side or command post, we can automatically store the location of wherever we're at. We can pop the radio on, we can load that location anytime, and backtrack ourselves right to it. So, another little feature, of course, it's not a strong one in the radios, but when you need it, it's there to use. If we can go next. The DR1X repeater. To touch on that slightly, we are selling the DR1X repeaters right now for $500 a piece. We were including 10 free shirts with them, but we just extended the program into June 30th, and we'll be running it through June 30th, and actually the program won't be ending until the end of 2015. So we have some new stuff coming out. There's going to be some announcements at Dayton. Of course, we like to, as a manufacturer, wait and surprise everybody with a little something at Dayton. So things are coming, and I urge everybody to look at the dates and the expirations of some of these programs. When they expire, we'll be releasing new exciting stuff. The DR1X repeater features we've already talked about. Just to go over a couple of them real quick. It is a 50-watt repeater at 50%. That means you cannot key it down continuously at 50 watts. They do have some problems doing that. We found that out about halfway through our testing process of these repeaters. Now, we put a feature in there that they would automatically cut power back based on heat. That didn't work too well. We found out that amateurs are great about continually abusing the repeaters, so it just doesn't help. We do recommend they be run back at 20 watts with a power amplifier if possible. They do have battery backup built into them. They're a 19-inch rack profile, as you can see up here, with a nice color touchscreen on them. So they're fully front panel programmable. That opens up another opportunity to emergency communications. If you guys are backpacking these things, as I like to call them, or running these up to remote sites in the event of emergencies, putting them in the back of emergency communication bands, they can actually be reprogrammed right from the front panel wherever you're at to adapt to any type of situation. One other option repeaters have is to actually work in unidirectional crossband operation, meaning rather than lug around a big set of duplexers, we can now carry a small diplexer with us and run out one antenna with minimal losses. So about 1.5 dB to 2 dB insertion loss. You put a diplexer on the unit, you receive in UHF, you transmit in VHF, and any one of our current radios is fully capable of operating crossband with these repeaters. Go ahead and hit it once more, it's going to keep hitting it. There we go. There's a 15-pin rear accessory connector in the radio for analog compatibility. This doesn't work on digital. There's no digital decoded audio. We intend for wires X to be used to interconnect these repeaters. I'm going to get into that in a moment, because one thing that everybody wants to know is why Yaesu didn't release a repeater with internet connectivity. And that's really interesting, because when I first got my repeater from Yaesu, they were marketing it as an independent system. They never really had intentions of interconnecting these repeaters. They wanted it to be more of an isolated type of digital solution within a community. Later on, we found out that people wanted digital connectivity. We started moving that direction. We started adapting our hardware, and we're still doing that. So digital connectivity is on the way, but we're just not quite there yet. Wires X is the system that we're going to use to link both analog and digital. It will work with the repeater in hybrid mode. Right now, it only supports the FTM 400. If you can hit that again, it should bring out some of the text there. It does work right now with the FTM 400, and that's our test bed for this system. We have roughly 100 nodes right now on WiresX in the United States. There's a system fusion net that goes on every Tuesday that's about 30 to 40 people strong. Most of the net controls based out of Atlanta, Georgia. We found the system to work very, very well. The next step is, and we're going to do a release announcement around July to August about WiresX digital linking into the DR1X repeater. But right now, we're kind of in the initial stages of developing what we want it to do and how we want it to work. So rather than release a product that's not ready, we all know how happy people get when products are released that aren't completely ready for the market. We went ahead and held off and said we're going to give it a few more months to perfect exactly what people are going to want into the system. The HRI 200 interface is the heart of the wire system. Unfortunately, I didn't have one to bring with me tonight. My show equipment didn't get back in time from, let's see, where was it? In AES Superfest in Milwaukee. So we had a full show booth there, and my shipper just really isn't Johnny on the spot. So we plan on having a 991 here. We plan on having some other stuff here for you guys to look at, but we don't have it here at the moment. I'll go give you a brief overview of the HRI 200. If you look at it, it's very similar to something like you'd see in a Rick Blaster signaling, and that's pretty much all that it is. It's a really fancy version of a sound card interface that supports C4 FM digital. That being said, the radios that are available now are the FTM 400, the FT1DR, the FT2DR is our new touchscreen radio that's just about to hit the market. They should be shipping by the 7th to the 15th. They're a really neat radio. I just got a chance to put my hands on one the other day, and I can say the touchscreens are very responsive. It's nice having some extra knobs and controls on them. I think that everyone's going to be very, very happy with the release of the FT2. It's absolutely a revolutionary radio, not just in ham radio, but in the entire radio community. There's no touchscreen radios out there on the market. And that we're being the people that pioneer that amateur radio. I think that's really fascinating because we really don't see as many people pushing technology or pushing new technology in amateur radio these days. So we are leading the way in amateur radio. Everyone has seen that with radios such as the FTDX 3000, the 1200, where we're now putting the really, really nice, very responsive LCD screens into the radios. We have a lot more computer-controlled technology in these radios. They're firmware upgradable. We're able to fix problems with them now and push out firmware updates really, really quick to the community and just keep everybody a little bit happier. So it's been really, really nice being able to stand behind these products. I wanted to mention to everybody as well before I get done here that we are going to have another Q&A type presentation at Ham Radio Outlet in San Diego this Saturday on the 4th. I'll be there all day to answer any questions, more one-on-one. If anybody would like to bring in any of their Fusion radios and have us program them, look at them, show you how to do stuff on them. That's the point of that day at Ham Radio Outlet. So I'd like to thank everybody, and if there are any questions, I'll take those now. Just raise your hand and we'll get to you. Sir in the back?
Yes, I heard you say earlier something about 20 watts and more than that you use an amplifier. What is the linearity requirements of the amplifier for the digital radios?
Well, it's just response time. If the actual TR relay is any slower than about 300 milliseconds in the amplifier, you might see some issues on just recovery time as far as, getting some digital image transmission or text messaging in and out of the system.
When I was saying linearity requirements, I'm a digital tech. I work with digital amplifiers all the time, and about 90% of the amplifiers you get off the market will not work with a digital radio.
The TPLs are the ones that I really recommend because of the response time. And that's been the biggest issue that we found. Now, I've ran a lot of different amplifiers on these units. I don't have actual technical specifications of it. I know that we have a response time requirement that's under 300 milliseconds as far as transmit and receive goes. Other than that, just about everything we've thrown on them works. So we have a variety of amplifiers running this stuff.
In other words, they're not critical for pulse rise time?
Not at all.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I got two questions. First question, C4 FM, is it a proprietary codec or is it public domain?
We're using the AMBI 3000 vocoder, and that's the only proprietary part of it. And I don't like using that as far as saying proprietary, is we're just buying the vocoder for wanting to
In
experiment
other
with
words,
this
you can't really
technology.
use the
So.
software to replace all that nonsense.
Yeah, it would be nice, but unfortunately with what DBSI and how they license it, they want to license that chip. Yeah. So, you know, you got to buy the $5 chip if you want to develop the technology. That's one thing.
The next question is, why such an incredibly low data speed like 96 Mbps, which is basically useless?
That was entirely up to the engineers in Japan. We know we could have pushed it a little bit further than 9600 kilobits per second.
Is it the same nonsense they did with D-Star with Japanese MIDI, not letting them go faster because they're afraid of losing the internet?
It was engineering's decision on that one. There are a few ways that I think that we could have done it better. And the nice thing about this all being firmware upgradable is as we get these requests in from the community, we can push it a little bit more to engineering to actually make some of these updates in the software. So
with that bandwidth that you've got, 12.5 kilohertz, you can easily run a couple hundred.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
With the bandwidth of 12.5 kilohertz, you can easily run a couple hundred.
Yeah, we could probably get up to 38.4 is what we could actually do. Well, I mean, as far as reasonably, we could probably do 38.4, but I don't see Japanese engineering changing any of that anytime soon. They're gonna go with the current standards of, you know, what's in phase 1 P25, so it's gonna be more along the lines of that. They'll change it up more as the phase 2 stuff gets adapted. We will move into the future with some of that stuff. So there's expandability there, but the system's in its very first stages of infancy, and we're currently trying to get this information back to engineering. There's no way that I could develop this stuff with Japan without getting these exact kind of comments from you. Yes, sir.
Years ago, I was involved in pagers that had problems. I mean, this is old technology now, but they had a huge problem when digital paging was sitting next to analog paging. And you had essentially 20 kilohertz of solid white noise sitting next to an analog FM signal. Have you done any kind of comparisons about what you're going to do to adjacent channel repeaters or adjacent channel handy-talkies, various mobiles, and things like that?
That's one of those things where really field tests are going to tell us a lot more about how the technology is going to perform. From P25 tests, we know kind of how things are going to go. Our receivers are pretty selective inside of the DR1X, so as far as it coming into the digital, not as much. I don't worry about it as much as I worry about analog interference next to it. But so far, we haven't had any negative reports along those lines. I take beta reports still every day.
TV signal, for example, it's a solid block of white noise. And I'm assuming yours is looking the same.
Yeah, it is. If you look at it on a spectrum analyzer, it looks a lot different. So
by an adjacent channel signal will be degraded if you don't have excellent narrowband filters.
And I have not seen it on a spectrum analyzer yet, so I'm not sure how it does affect anything really close. That's more of an engineering-related question that I would have to actually query Japan and say, have you guys actually done these tests on it? Yeah, I haven't tried it myself personally, but I try to collect all the information that I can as far as, you know, this type of technology goes. As people are testing it, I'm taking these reports, we save it into a database so we can answer these type of questions.
Spectral reports of all the modes of the HT, so you can see the spectra in the scope.
Okay, what was that in again, ma'am?
Our newsletter.
Okay, wonderful. You guys actually put that in a newsletter. That's amazing. That's great. It's April QSD. Okay, I haven't seen that yet.
No, it's our client.
Yeah, I think it's got that one delivered. Yes, sir.
I want to know, you mentioned something about automatic position.
By RCOM controllers. It makes the analog and digital integration with an external controller work a little bit better. So we are adapting our firmware to work like that controller unit. So it won't be needed in the future, but right now we do recommend that specific series of controller. Either that or the SCOM. It integrates very well with it. So it does have the capability. We have a lot of people that have them on IRLP and Echolink. So the external interface, or the actual external interface of Nectar, seems to provide the signals that we need to do that kind of stuff. No problem. We'll take a couple more here, and then I've got to start heading back to Huntington Beach. Yes, sir.
As far as the duty cycle power output,
It seems like the DR1X did a lot better on 2 meters and 70 centimeters as far as failures. Is that what you noticed personally?
I think it has something to do with the series of transistor we use and the ratings that they have. At UHF, they're actually rated a lot lower than they are at VHF. So there might be some truth to that. I haven't got a response back from engineering that says, yes, that's the case, but they've kind of been looking into some of those failures and what they are. Now, the reason that we haven't been pushing the research into what's going on is because the amount of returns we've received really haven't been that high. So once they start getting up to a point where we consider them a problem, then I think they'll push it a little bit more. But for the amount of units that we actually have out on the market, we're just not seeing as many returns as we've had in some of the other product lines. Yes, sir, right back.
Everybody's far too technical for me. I just want to know if they're easy to program. And when you're talking about these liquid crystal displays, are they the ones that are on the anti-talkies too?
Well, no, they're LCD displays, but they're not full color displays. Just to answer that question, on the FT2DR, it's a monochromatic touchscreen display, and they are very easy to program. One of the things about Fusion is you just pop in the frequency, tell the radio it's digital, and you're going. So there's no special programming, no talk groups, nothing to put in there that's really complex.
Does it do away with tones?
Well, yeah, there's no digital tones. There's no digital squelch or NAC codes or anything like that, unless you want to use them. And we have what's called digital squelch, which is the equivalent of a P25 NAC code.
Okay.
And, okay, I'll take one more. Yes, sir?
If you do a software update on the handheld unit, and about halfway through it decides that it's not going to take the update, we got to dig the unit out again?
We will fully support the unit. Unlike the other manufacturers, if you break your radio, we'll take care of it. Not a problem. The unit comes with the cable. Everything you need is in the box to do firmware updates and programming. Well, thank you everybody for having me tonight. As I mentioned,
Chris, thank you very much. I think we've been pleasantly covered with Chris's willingness to talk about some details of how products are developed, saying I've got to get back to engineering. If you've ever worked with a group of engineers, sometimes getting the engineers to pay attention, you have to hit them across the side of the head with a baseball bat. We're going to do this. But, last call for any tickets who somebody may wish to pick up at the last minute. Anybody in that category? No. So now we have to figure out how to pick the one ticket out of there that is mine. I was going to say, maybe we should ask Harry to come up. Yeah, I know, I'm just... If the joke about Harry is, don't ever go to a ham fest with Harry because he'll win all the prizes and you'll wonder what happened.
As a point, Harry did not go to the Palm Springs Ham Fest, did you, Harry?
No.
You know why I know that?
Because you won something.
Because you won something.
This.
It's a HF transceiver. That
Yeah. It's a simple one, but hey, I paid my way to go there.
Wait, you actually won something?
$5. Holy crap. I think that was the game. Okay, Mr. Wilson. You're the guest of honor. It's all about you tonight. We'll walk into the light if you don't mind. Let's see, this one was YOO. All right.
Justin Jones.
Is there a Justin Jones around?
all right.
Chairman?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that on behalf of the club. And, yeah, join us in the photo here. And
Okay.
doesn't get better than that.
This is a makeshift certificate for an FT1. If we have over 30 people show up to these meetings, typically we'll bring a radio. Of course, it's a lot more here. So all you need to do with this is just has my name and address on it. You mail this back to me along with your name and address, and you will receive an FT1 DR Black in the mail. Not this time.
All right.
Okay, K6, Kilo Foxtrot 6, Lima Papa, LP. KF6 LP.
No, you don't have to be here. It could have been somebody who bought the ticket at the last meeting and isn't here. You do not have to be present to win, as long as you know who it is that bought the ticket. Okay. Does anybody know? Does anybody know KF6LP? I know that. What are we doing here? Oh.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. Anybody have anything for the good of the order? Chris, thank you very much for coming, and we appreciate it. See you all shortly.